I'm excited to share a new resource with you when you're doing a design project in Marin. It's designed to work as a companion to the book, Successfully Landscaping Your Marin Home. But here's how you can use it in any context when you're planning a project. So let's say that you're looking at a fence or a gate or an arbor and you want some ideas. Each of these photos, as with all the photos in the book, have been taken in Marin. Usually as I'm driving along, I see an interesting something that I haven't got that photo before, so I just snap a quick image through the car window. So you won't get particularly great photography, and the light rarely cooperates to be just so, but you will get a wide range of different ideas. And that's the purpose of the images, to be just good enough to help you visualize and give some thought to what you might like. And the types of things that I'm interested in are, for example, take this fence here. It's almost identical to a typical very low-end basic fence. The only real difference are the fact that they've inserted these one-by-ones here and there between the larger boards, and that gives it a distinctive element. It raises the design maybe 30% relative to the typical thing without a piece of wood on top and without the one-by-ones. And so that's an example of what I would call minimum effort for maximum result, where you do just a little bit more, but it raises the caliber of the fence significantly. So in the section of good landscaping ideas, that's usually the theme. While there aren't notes to talk about them, here's a window that is creating its own shade with this custom blind. I just thought that was a neat idea. Here's a deck that is using pieces of plywood integrated in the railing to do two things. It's blocking wind in a gusty Mill Valley area, so it's blocking wind. It's creating privacy from the street for the deck, and it's also incredibly inexpensive and gives it a much more distinctive design element than just the standard 2x2 verticals. And so that's the kind of idea that interests me. Or this client of mine right here, this is an old bay tree, and rather than spend an extra $1,000 to grind out this whole stump, I suggested that she cut it in different lengths and spend $400 on bird feeders and then grow a bougainvillea over it. So that it's taking, in the good ideas sections, that's what I'm interested in. Here's a little bench that I made out of that same bay tree, and this bench is over 8 years old, which is why it's got ferns growing in it. And many of the less expensive, the $200 and $300 benches, will start to get wobbly and rot in about 8 years. This will be here in another 10, 20 years, and it saved hauling the wood off-site and was just a matter of chopping this up with a chainsaw. So it's stuff like that that interests me. It's easy to, of course, do something fabulous when you've got a lot of money, but to do something that's pretty neat with just a few $100s, or even in a way that saves money, those are the types of ideas that interest me. And like in this example, using old roofing tiles to do the border. So that's what you'll find in this section. And out at Green Gulch Farm, I noticed they're doing a good job of creating wind blocks with plexiglass. And so that's the purpose of this book, is to learn from and inspire and borrow all the best ideas that are going around. And this was one of the main things that inspired the book, was this deer-resistant plantings. I have a lot of people that automatically want to put up sometimes quite an ugly fence because they are convinced there's no real plantings that can be deer resistant. And while it's true that to a certain extent there aren't any plantings that are deer proof, every one of these images you'll find here is out by the street in areas frequented by deer. And this, by the way, was just a fun thing. Color balance is quite important. If you imagine this yellow sign, this yellow and black sign disappearing, this might look a little bit boring. So I thought this was a terrific use of a non-irrigated, street garden, because with the blue of these succulents and such a large scale, it's perfectly balancing the shapes and colors of the street sign, turning something that could be, an eyesore and just look tacky into a part of the landscape design. So I hope you have fun with these images, and if you have an image that you want to submit for this directory, the purpose is to benefit everyone in Marin who's doing a landscape design. And if you're working with me or another landscape designer, I've also labeled all of the images so that you can send me or your designer an email and just say, I'm interested in this look here, and you can say that's deer resistant number 9. And so each there's usually at least 2 or 3 pages for each category, and so you can say page page 2, number 29, and they'll know exactly what image you're referring to. So I hope you enjoy the resource, and that your garden is a success.